On this edition of Gameball NFL Endzone, we're going to recap a crazy wildcard weekend in the National Football League. And speaking of the wildcard round, we're going to talk about two games in particular, and that is the Bears and the Eagles, and also the Cowboys and the Seahawks. The Seahawks and the Bears, of course, not moving on to the divisional round, but we're going to talk about, did they actually lose those games, or did they possibly beat themselves? And also, which wildcard team remaining in the playoffs could possibly win the Super Bowl? And in our third segment, we're also going to break down matchup by matchup the divisional round of the playoffs, and of course give you our predictions. Stick around. Gameball NFL Endzone kicks off now. What's happening, everyone? Welcome to Gameball NFL Endzone, where the football season never ends. I'm Marcus Young Genius Jenkins.
It's your boy, Michael Riley.
And of course, we're going to hold it down for our brother Luke Hartnett. Shout out to Luke Hartnett. Of course, we'll have his predictions later on in the episode with the divisional round of the playoffs. But before we get into that, we have to talk about the wild card round of the playoffs. And of course, we're going to talk about two games in particular. First of all, the first game we're going to recap, though, the Indianapolis Colts and the Houston Texans. Mike, I got to ask you, is Andrew Luck back?
You have to say he is back. Due to the last 2-3 years, he was beat up. Grigson and Pagano were inconsistent on giving him offensive line, and they both got fired, as they should. So as right now, he is back to his old self. And the way that the Colts play against the Texans is just like, okay, the coach is here. The coach let everybody know that we are here to compete for a title. They went from 1-5 to a divisional round playoffs. I mean, that is a remarkable season to go from potentially out of the playoffs to the early round pick a draft to beat a very good team twice in your division, which is not easy to do, because 9 times out of 10 people don't go 3-0 or 2-1 in their division, especially they play again in the playoffs. And they're clicking on all cylinders. Offensively, the new GM, he should get a lot of credit, because his focus was, we gotta protect Andrew Luck. And what did they do with the first pick of the draft? They went and got Quentin Nelson, a guard who can play center, or who can play tackle. Very versatile, but he's playing the guard position. What a find in him. Denver missed out on him, but the Colts got him. He's already all pro offensive lineman. And Javion Clowney, he's one of the best pass rushers in the game, and he held him in check, especially on the pancake blocks. Just checked it. I mean, the Colts offensive line did a phenomenal job of protecting Andrew Luck.
Yes, they did.
And he has not been sacked. Had they rushed over 240-some yards to win against Texans. So, and that was a good recipe for the offense to be successful. To go along with that, the defense played extremely well.
Yes, they did.
May not have the talent that they want in the 4-3 scheme, but what they did was they maneuver pieces by pieces and have a spy on Deshaun Watson, make sure he does not get out of the pocket. And that's exactly what they did against the Houston Texans offense. They just kept a spy on him just in case if he was to make plays, bam, he was right there to stop him from making plays. So the coach did a very good job of strategizing offense and defense to win this game and move on to Arrowhead. And they could keep rolling on this winning streak for the Texans. That offensive line was horrendous. I mean, they could not get a block. They could not protect Deshaun Watson. Their lives depended on it. That's what their main focus on in this offseason offensive line. And that secondary played awful. And the pass rush couldn't even get to Andrew Luck. I mean, mix it up a little bit. Like, what's going on? So, and plus, Jadeveon Clowney is due to be a free agent. Will the Texans re-sign him? We don't know. And what they're going to do with J.J. Watt and the rest of the crew, because some of the defensive players is old and getting up there with the age. So you wonder what that's going to. They play inconsistent and it showed, and they got annihilated by the Colts offense, and they just man look too good. So what does the Houston Texans going forward? They need to address the offensive line and some part of the defense.
And at home, on top of that, I mean, you were in Houston, and it just seems like, tell me if I'm wrong, Mike, but it seemed like when they had an opportunity with a little under a minute and a half, a little over a minute and a half, you were at that one particular play where you could have went for the 1st and goal, or you went for the go-ahead touchdown. And it was a good play, but it just seemed like Deshaun Watson had a lot of just ground balls where it just couldn't get to the receiver's hands. He was throwing them too low. And then, but that particular play, it seemed like the commentary was kind of questioning that. But in all reality, it actually was a good play. It was just a bad pass, it seemed like.
Well, you brought that up, and I was about to go there. They should at least just went for like a zone read or quarterback draw, get the first down, reset, start a new down. And you could have had 4 tries, it could have been a different ball game.
Absolutely.
So I would have been conservative, and at that moment, okay, get a first down, and we can reset and live for another 4 downs to try to get into the end zone. So that was their fault for me. I mean, I don't question the play call. I want to go for a touchdown, but I'd rather go for a first down, then reset, then try to get a touchdown out of it.
I absolutely agree with that. And it seemed like that particular time, it just seemed like it took the wind out of the Houston Texans crowd. And it seemed like it killed the momentum of Houston offensively as well. Defensively, give them credit. I mean, the 21 points that the Colts had in that first half, they would hold the Colts scoreless. Give them credit for that in the second half. They wouldn't score again. But the Houston Texans, it just seemed like they just could not find a way to make it a ball game until the end when they were able to put those 7 points. Indianapolis Colts, like you talked about, moving on to Arrowhead. It's going to be a great game, a great matchup. Andrew Luck in a duel with Patrick Mahomes. We'll talk about that matchup in the third segment of this episode. We're going to quickly, briefly recap, and that is the Seattle Seahawks and the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboy Nation. And I'm telling you, I saw this all over my social media. Cowboys fans from all over the world was rejoicing in this game, and they could not talk about it enough. Give credit where credit is due. I even said so myself. I thought they could potentially win this game, but I didn't really give them that much of a chance. So give the Cowboys credit. They played well enough to win on the road. So, I mean, at home, but they did enough to get it done. We'll talk about that in the second segment.
It was luck on their side. I'll get to it. It was luck.
Can't catch a break. I'm sorry, Cowboys fans. I'm trying here. I'm trying. But the next game that we're actually going to go into a little bit more in detail, the Los Angeles Chargers with an impressive win against the Baltimore Ravens. How were the Chargers able to come out on top in this one?
Well, I had picked the Chargers to win against the Baltimore Ravens because I felt defensively they would do a lot better and holding Lamar Jackson most of the game. That's what they did. And what they did by the defensive coordinator was genius. Add 3 safeties to the corps to where they can play linebacker. Rest of them get covered. One can be a spy for Lamar Jackson, and that's exactly what they did. They played well to their advantage, and the ends just wasn't focused on being pass rushers. They was just focused on contain, making sure that Jackson does not get to the outside of making plays. So they stayed at home. They seen them before, what they did wrong, and they did right. And the Chargers offense, give them credit. They had not turned the ball over, and they made enough plays to win the game, basically. And defense balled. They sacked Lamar Jackson 7 times and forced 2 turnovers.
That's a lot, man.
Forced 2 to 3 turnovers. So that is a recipe. You got to give the Chargers all credit, but They about gave it away. They about gave it away. If you want to go in the Foxborough in New England, you cannot do that, because if you do that, the Patriots are going to rout you out like it ain't nothing. So you have to learn what the mistakes of this game going forward. But the next game they're going to play is Tom Brady. This ain't Lamar Jackson. You're playing the veteran, the GOAT, and Tom Brady. So we'll talk about that more. But overall, good win by the Chargers, and the Ravens had too many mistakes. They fumbled too many times, and he had an interception. But give Ravens credit for sticking with Lamar Jackson. When things was going down and fans was calling for change the players and all that, change for Joe Flacco, John Harbaugh didn't listen to that nonsense. He's like, that's my guy. We're going to stick with him. And he almost led to a comeback and all that. So he fell short because the offensive line didn't protect him well. It was a strip sack fumble at the end. But give credit to the Baltimore Ravens and the coaching staff for sticking with Lamar Jackson. They could have benched him, but he didn't. They almost brought him back to win the game. So they came up short. It was just one of those things that they have to learn going forward. And I think Lamar Jackson, if he continues to work on some mechanics in the passing game, more accuracy to go along with his running ability, he has a very bright future in the NFL.
I agree.
But the concerning part is how long this run-pass option is going to last in the NFL, because you came out of nowhere and teams are going to start preparing more better and stopping that. So how long is the run-pass option going to last? We'll have to find out.
Obviously, offensive line is definitely going to be a cause for concern. I would imagine in the offseason for them 7 times being sacked. Or that's not acceptable on any team. That's insane. And for them to still even put up 7 points and be within it, I mean, within close range to even win that football game is still a bright spot in itself. But once again, the Chargers, we're going to talk about them taking on Tom Brady and the New England Patriots in the third segment. We're also going to briefly recap, because we're going to also talk about this game in the second segment, and that was a close one. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Chicago Bears, that field goal. Like, that I'm telling you, we're going to talk about that.
Let's save that in the next 7 minutes to go to the score.
But 16-17, the Philadelphia Eagles 16-15, they would escape. And that's literally what it was. They escaped out of Chicago with that win. We're going to talk about that actually here in just a moment. And that's going to do it for our first segment of Gameball NFL Endzone. Stick around. Once again, we will talk about more the Seattle Seahawks and the Dallas Cowboys game, as well as the Philadelphia Eagles and the Chicago Bears. Did the Bears and the Seahawks actually lose that game, or their games respectively, or did they beat themselves? We'll talk about that, and also which wildcard team remaining into the divisional round could potentially win the Super Bowl. Stick around. Gameball NFL Endzone. We'll return in a moment. What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to Gameball NFL Endzone, where the football season never ends. Now in the second segment, Cowboys and the Seahawks, Bears and Eagles. Of course, the Cowboys and the Eagles would advance to the divisional round, respectively, in the playoffs. But Mike, gotta ask you, the losses between the Bears and the Seahawks, do you think that they beat themselves, or did they actually lose to the better team?
I'm going to say they beat themselves, because there was plays left out there that should have been made but didn't. Let's start about the Dallas Cowboys and the Seahawks game. When KJ Wright intercepted that ball against Dak Prescott, I thought it was a wrap, because the offense had an opportunity to go down and score, and they didn't. That offensive line of Seattle was enigma against the Dallas Cowboys defense. You have to get the Dallas Cowboys defense credit for keeping them in the game.
Hold up. let me pause for a second. Did you say what Cowboys and give credit though? Did you?
Their defense. The offense played okay enough to win the game. There was a turnover in that game, and when he threw a pick, if they didn't score off of that, and also they almost scored on a kickoff return with 15 seconds left going to halftime. If that shoestring tackle didn't happen, that could have been another score. Then on top of that, they missed a field goal, which the kicker, Janikowski, hurt his hamstrings, able to kick again, so they had to go for 2. And that Australian bounce punt, that didn't make sense. Just do a regular onside kick, and that should have been it. None of that fancy Australian punt, whatever you call it, whatever it is. So, on the 3rd and 4th down play, Dak Prescott made that play to keep his team alive and get the go-ahead touchdown. Well, Seattle answered that with a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to be down by 2. But they should have went for the regular onside with the kickers that are going to be all fancy. If they would have won that, in my opinion, they would have recovered the fumble and it would have been a field goal try or a touchdown. So the Dallas Cowboys got lucky on that one, and they're moving into the Los Angeles Rams. We'll talk about that later. The Philadelphia Eagles and Chicago Bears. The Philadelphia Eagles know that if the Bears had a legitimate kicker, they would have won that game. So I'm giving a lot of credit to the Philadelphia Eagles. They had a game plan, and Foles played good enough to win that game. He didn't really, he threw 2 interceptions and all that, but when it came down to it, he led his team to a touchdown and all that. Give him credit. But the kicker, you have to put the blame on the kicker. They said it was partially blocked and this and that. I couldn't tell if it was blocked or not. Even if it was still blocked, you still should have made it. Rule number 1, I'm going to say this. You never kick on a timeout call. You see other kickers do that? No, they let the timeout be called and wait, regroup. Then they kick the extra point. So, now not the extra point, but the field goal. But he still kicked it and it was straight. It didn't go sideways, hit the pole or nothing. It went straight. Then when he kicked it again, it was wide left and hit the pole. And then it went down. And the Bears players defended him and this and that. But here's the numbers that are alarming to me, and see if you can defend this. He's missed a total of 10 kicks. 7 of them were field goals, and 3 of them for point extra. How do you defend that? And the 7 field goals he's missed, it was the exact same thing that happened that cost him the game. And he even admitted it was his fault and whatever, and he should have did better. But you knew better not to kick on a called timeout. That's why they have that timeout there for. So if I was a kicker or something, I'll just let them call their timeout, get my leg warmed up a little bit, then you kick the field goal. You never kick it on a called timeout. Does Adam Vinatieri kick on a called timeout? No, because he's been in the league for a god long time. Knows he's in his almost his mid-40s, or maybe in his mid-40s, still balling. What about Steven Gronkowski for the Patriots? Does he kick on a call timeout? No. He just lets them sit and wait and stares at him like, you think that timeout is supposed to really faze me? Kick the winning field goal next. You hear other good kickers, Justin Tucker, do that? No. They sit there, let it wait, and kick the field goal to win the game. But the Eagles came and have a game plan, and they executed. The Bears, they left a lot of plays out there. They should have capitalized, but they didn't. And Trubisky led them all the way to score and was in a good position to score a field goal. But I will say this, that catch that the Bears had, it should have been catch right there on the spot.
That was
ridiculous.
I thought that was clearly a catch.
The announcer dude said that should have been a caught ball on the spot, and it should have been first down instead of an incomplete pass.
When you say 3 steps?
Yes.
And it still dropped? When you take a step, you catch it, and you took 3 steps, and then you go down,
what is a catch or not a catch anymore? I don't understand. So it's a lot of things, but I put the blame on the kicker. He needs to be gone. I'm sorry. He has to go. He's missed 7 field goals and 3 extra points, total of 10 kicks. And how you still keep him? And how do you still defend that as a teammate? I can't defend that. I'm sorry. You just cost us the game to go to the next round. So it's on you, the kicker.
I mean, I get it, and I do respect the Chicago Bears, for defending them. So, I mean, you don't want to have somebody just drown in that, because if he's still in the Chicago Bears uniform, he's gonna have to hear about it until he redeems himself anyway. I get that, and that's what being a team is all about. So, I mean, I completely understand that, but also understand where you're coming from, because they clearly beat themselves. You had the game in your hands, and that was probably one of the worst kicks I've seen. Now, I did say that the offense or the defensive line, they did do a good job of getting hands up. If you do see that kick, it didn't look like it got partially blocked to me. It looked like it was just too wide. Too wide left, but I didn't see it necessarily getting blocked. But there were a lot of hands that could have distracted him, and he kicked it a little too wide. But that was still a bad kick, no matter how you look at it.
But if he wouldn't have kicked it on a called timeout, the Bears move on against the Saints. You know better. You never kick it on a called timeout. You always have to glance over and watch the other team. If they stand in another referee, 9 times out of 10, they're going to call it. So
right.
He has to be alert to not kick it on the called timeout. Because when he kicked it, it didn't go right here, right there. It went straight. So that's on the kicker.
Seahawks and Cowboys, that was either one of them could have blew that game. So, even if the Seahawks would have won, I don't think they would have been a better team. I think it would have been a different outcome had they been in Seattle. That's just my opinion. But clearly the Bears, that's you can't put it no better than that. They clearly beat themselves. Now, the next question, Mike, that we're going to talk about is, of the teams that are still in the playoffs from the wild card round, which team do you feel could possibly win the Super Bowl?
The Colts. Just because the way that they played against the Texans, they are, in my opinion, the hottest wild card team. They were 1-5 on the verge of having the top 10 draft pick and not making the playoffs, to where, okay, we have a shot at beating the number one team in the AFC. So, and 9 times out of 10 in the playoffs against the Chiefs, that Colts always has success. Think about this for a second. 2003 season, it was 2003 season where the Colts were a wild card team, and a lot of teams picked them to lose against the Broncos since they had lost earlier in the season. They wipe them out first round. Then they go to the second round in Arrowhead, and they beat the Chiefs 38-31, upset win, and they call that offensive pass interference on Tony Gonzalez, would have won them the game and all that. So they have done it before. Then years later, when they played the Colts in Indianapolis for wild card, the Chiefs had a 28-point lead and blew it. I don't know if you remember that game.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And so, they blew it. So can the Chiefs figure out the woes? We'll see. But right now, nobody wants to see the Colts, because the way they're playing and the way the offensive line is protected Andrew Luck, especially the top two draft picks that they got at the offensive line spot, there's something special. They're forming a good chemistry to where they can bond together. The running game is going. The pass game is clean. So as of right now, No, the other teams could have a chance to win out the wild card spot, but the Colts, they are playing phenomenal football right now. It's something special, and this team can literally go all the way to the conference championship.
I'm agree with that. I mean, speaking of the Chiefs matchups, I mean, different times, different quarterbacks, different coaches. I mean, we can go into that as well. Don't knock on the Colts. I'm actually glad to see them back, and I'm glad to see Andrew Luck healthy, and he looks confident. And so does that offensive line. So does that offense, period. They actually should have had 28 points. Or excuse me, not 28, but they actually could have potentially had 30 points if it wasn't for give it credit, because I don't blame that holding call, because otherwise Andrew Luck had a go-ahead touchdown in that first half. But I agree with you with the Colts. I think it's going to be a good matchup. I think the advantage is Kansas City being at home. We'll break down that more. But I know they're playing the Saints, but I'm not surprised with the confidence that the Philadelphia Eagles are playing with. Do not be surprised if this becomes a better game with Philadelphia and New Orleans than what people think. I'm thinking they could potentially make another run out of nowhere. This team believes in Nick Foles. They're confident. Can the defense do a little bit better? Yes. Does Nick Foles going against Drew Brees, does he need to minimize his mistakes? Yes. But I think that the Eagles could potentially, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but potentially make a surprising run. But I agree with you. I think the Colts have a good shot. With that being said, that's going to do it for our second segment. Coming up in the third segment, it's time to talk about the divisional round of the playoffs, and we'll break down matchup by matchup, and we'll also give you our predictions as well. Don't go anywhere. We are just now getting started. Gameball NFL Endzone will return.
Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Divisional round picks is coming up, folks.
Yes, sir. What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to Gameball NFL Endzone, where the football season never ends. We are down to the third segment, and that is now we're going to talk about the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, starting with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs will be hosting the Indianapolis Colts, fresh off an impressive win on the road in Houston by a score, once again, of 21-7 over the Houston Texans. Mike, how would you break down this matchup?
Well, the hottest team against the best team in the AFC. For the Colts, if they want to get another upset win, do like you do last week and better. Because against the Chiefs, they're going to score quick. But the formula to beat the Chiefs is run the ball effectively, protect Andrew Luck wisely like you did the last game against the Houston Texans, and be consistent on third down. And you will have to win the time of possession. If they can win the time of possession, keep the clock running in their favor, and keep the Chiefs offense on the sideline and wear down that defense, then they'll have a good shot at doing it. And defense, you're going to have to scheme up a little bit. Do what you did like you did against the Texans to keep a spy on them, but do like what the Chargers did and put a third safety on there so they can have somebody to spy on with their blitzings and stunt doing all of that to make sure that Patrick Mahomes does not get out the pocket and make plays. That's where he's deadly. And have two safeties deep to protect against Tyreek Hill. And you want to jam up Travis Kelce. Beat him up at the line of scrimmage. If you beat him up there to where you throw him off his route a little bit, he can't run the route to get open, then you do your job. Be physical with the Chiefs offense. That's the Colts defense is going to have to do now with the Chiefs. They haven't done very good as of lately. The last 4 games, they went 2-2 and about damn near lost their number one seed, and we shall say. So for the Chiefs, they have to establish the running game against a very good defense, and they have to win on third downs. And sometimes you're going to have to learn how to have time of possession as your friend. Instead of scoring quick, because once you do that, you put your defense out there to be a liability of wearing them down and getting them out of breath and getting them on their heels. So you have to keep the clock running, keep your defense fresh on the sideline. If you can do that, you win. But the Chiefs defense, they need to stop Andrew Luck and the Colts offense, because the Chiefs have the worst rush defense in the NFL. Now, sacks, they're pretty good, but against the run, they're not so good at all. And the secondary has to step up, because if they don't, it could get ugly and could be another upset. So we'll talk about the predictions, but that's for those both teams' keys to success to win the game.
And hopefully the Kansas City Chiefs took note to how the Houston Texans held them scoreless in that second half. Hopefully the defense took some notes and watched plenty of tape of how they were held scoreless in that second half. The second matchup, the Dallas Cowboys. Boy, this is a matchup. The Dallas Cowboys and the Los Angeles Rams. Mike, how would you break this one down?
Well, the Dallas Cowboys, they're not a good road team. So they're going to have to play exact same way like they did against the Seahawks to win, because this ain't the Seattle Seahawks offense you're going to be dealing with. This is the Rams offense. They are top 10 in the NFL, scoring top 5, whatever, and they will spread the ball out. Todd Gurley's coming back healthy off a knee injury. You're going to have to deal with Brandon Cooks. It's going to be a lot of motion going on here and there. So for the defense, they got their work cut out for them. And offensively, keep doing what you're doing, but don't have no turnovers. And somebody's going to have to stop Aaron Donald. This dude, it's an insane monster. He's already named All-Pro once again. That kind of just shows you he is a baller. You need Nick Dominic and Sue step up. You need Dante Fowler to step on that defensive line instead of Aaron Donald. So who's going to be that unsung hero to step up for Aaron Donald to help him out? And secondary, you have to be physical with the Dallas Cowboys receiver. They're okay, but not that great, except for Amari Cooper. Who's going to shut down Amari Cooper? It'll be intermatches to see if Marcus Peters is going to line up against Amari Cooper. Now, for the Rams offense, you have to wear down the Cowboys defense. Yeah, you have to run the ball, but you have to spread it out and get creative and throw them off the game, because that's where not their best is, when the ball's being spread out. So if you do that, minimize it, and win the time of possession battle, you have a chance. Now, defense, you're going to have to force Dak Prescott to beat you. You're going to have to stack the box. You're going to have to trust your secondary, and you're going to have somebody help out with Amari Cooper. You're going to have to lower the box. You're going to have to do some creative. Trust your defense. Trust that secondary, which Dwayne Phillips is one of the best defensive minds in the game. He'll have something up for the Dallas Cowboys offense. If they can do that, minimize their their running game and make them forced to beat you in the passing game, and chances are it's either going to be incomplete or more likely turnover. If they can do that, the Rams will win this game and move on to the conference championship.
All right, the Rams at full strength hosting the Dallas Cowboys. It's going to be an interesting matchup. Boy, I can't wait to see this one this weekend. Speaking of Los Angeles, we're going to stay in that city as the Los Angeles Chargers, the younger brother team in LA, will be going to Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots. Mike, what do you like about this one?
Phil Rivers versus Tom Brady. Lifetime, Tom Brady 7, Phil Rivers 0. But can that change? We'll see about that. For the Rams offense, they cannot do what they did against this Baltimore Ravens, because they about slipped up and have a couple turnovers. Because if you do that against the Patriots, they will make you pay and then some. So offensively, you got to do better, and you got to come out swinging. You have to score touchdowns against the Patriots and be aggressive. Don't hold back. Defensively, you're going to have to do a little bit better this time what you did, because you about lost the game. But fortunately, you had a strip sack. What the Patriots do, they want to get the ball out quick. That's how you slow the pass rush. So you're going to have to be creative and stop the Patriots offense, because they study you. They had the bye week and they're watching you. So can the Chargers defense come up with big enough plays? And for the offense, it's going to be difficult, but I believe the Patriots will try to find a way to do something different, because the playoffs, they are a different team, especially at home. They are 8-0. They are the only undefeated team in the NFL that has an undefeated record at home. So what the Patriots do is they go off your personnel. They don't run the same offense each week. So watch out for the Patriots to do a little bit of trickery to catch the Chargers defense on guard. Something that they never did before. You know, it always happens in the playoffs. The Patriots offense will come up with some slick. They'll motion guys here. They put the fullback in motion. And that's part of their offense. That's a value part of their offense, is the fullback. So he'll be a key for the running game, blocking, as well as the passing game, catching the ball. For the Patriots offense to have success, they're going to have to use the running backs in the passing game. What is the linebacker's worst nightmare? Defending the running back in the passing game. I see the Patriots will do that. Spread them out wide, going different routes and all that. Use Cordell Patterson for a little trickery, run, pass option, whatever they're going to do, and they'll be fine. The Patriots defense will start coming together, especially that young undrafted rookie corner I told you about, J.C. Jackson, who is balling. I think he's better than Malcolm Butler. That's just my opinion, but Malcolm Butler's still a hell of a player. But Stephon Gilmore rated the highest corner in the NFL. That is a shutdown corner. That is money well spent by the Patriots in last offseason. And the Patriots going to come up with some creative defensively. Show the offense is something that you never seen before. Disguise a little bit. Communicate. Mess with Phillip Rivers' head. If they can do that, they'll win this game.
All right. The Chargers going into Foxborough to see if they can come away with one. And the last matchup we're going to break down, the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the New Orleans Saints. Mike, how would you break down this matchup?
Well, we all know the last time that the Philadelphia Eagles played the Saints, it was a nightmare. 41-7. It was ugly. But this is Nick Foles who's playing. So it's going to be a different type of game. For the offense to have success, you got to do what you did against the Bears, but better, because you're going to a very hostile environment in the Saints, where they play their best. When it's that home, in that dome, and that Who That Nation crowd, it goes crazy. So they'll have to do a better job offensively. Yes, they scored 2 touchdowns to win that game, but they also had 2 turnovers that could have been resolved as touchdown, especially that pick 6 by that rookie linebacker, Roquan Smith. But they say he was contacted, so they got lucked out with there. So the Philadelphia Eagles have to be careful offensively what the Saints defense throws at them. Now for the defense of the Eagles, they're going to have to do better. This ain't Mitchell Trubisky that they dealing with. This is Drew Brees, the all-time passing leader, stat leader, whatever you want to call it. He's sensational, ball out of his mind, and he is good at getting rid of the ball out quick. And they're going to have to stop the running game with Ingram and Kamara. And the passing game, they're going to have to defend and be physical with the receiver, especially Michael Thomas, who's had an incredible year in the receiver. So we're going to see that. It's going to come down to which team can make more plays and which team has the ball last.
All right. Eagles trying to go into New Orleans and try to steal one. They've had success in the past. We'll see if that continues in 2019. And with that being said, that's going to take us to the predictions part of the episode, starting with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Indianapolis Colts. Mike, who do you and Luke have in this game?
Luke has the Chiefs at home to win. I'm going with the opposite. I'm going with the upset. I'm going with the Colts going to Arrowhead and getting the win. I just feel like the Colts are the hottest team. They're riding this train. They're continuing to go. If somebody can beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead, it's the Colts. I don't see that train stopping. And the Chiefs' running defense is going to be too much. I don't see them doing enough to stop the running game. It'll be a close game, but it won't be enough. And I see the Colts defense minimizing Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, emulate some of what the other teams did, but do their own style. And I feel like Andrew Luck, his confidence is growing, and he's like, we're not done yet. This ain't over. I feel like Andrew Luck will lead his team, especially with Eric Ebron, who's finally coming up as a true tight end. To where he would did in Detroit Lions, so he's balling. Then you have T.Y. Hill. He might not have Tyreek Hill's speed, but he's a hell of a route runner and gets good separation as well. And their defense is playing phenomenal. They may not have the type of players that you want, but they play together. And Darius Slayton, that rookie linebacker, led the NFL in tackles, is something special. He can go along with Travis Kelce, cover him good, and also cover the running backs out of the field. I just feel like it'll be too much at the end. I feel like the Colts will win the time of possession battle. I feel like the Colts offensive line will dominate the Chiefs defensive line at the point of attack, just like they did against the Houston Texans. It's going to be a close one, but I picked the Colts to win on the upset on the road, 28-24. Colts advance to the conference championship.
Potential, maybe New England and Indianapolis matchup, potentially. I would say in this one, I could see that if maybe they were on the road or if the Colts were at home. I just think nobody's going to be able to stop the Chiefs from scoring. I feel like if this gets into a matchup between scoring left and right, I think the Chiefs will have them. The question that I have is if the Kansas City Chiefs took the time to see how the Houston Texans stopped and held the Indianapolis Colts scoreless in that second half. We know that the Indianapolis Colts, we know that they're confident and they're going to get going fast. I just don't know if they have enough weapons defensively to stop Kansas City's offense. They do have the physicality with the running game if they get that established with Williams and with Stephen Ware. If they can find ways to try to contain Patrick Mahomes, I don't see that happening. I think offensively they're going to have enough. I agree with it being a close game, but I think that they will have enough. I will say they will win by a score. I say 28-21. They will win because it's at home. If this was in Indianapolis, I could see them coming out with this win, but I'm going with the Chiefs.
Well, the reason why I picked the Indianapolis Colts to win, yes, the Chiefs have the better talent, but you see the better talent does not get it done at times. And also the way teams are playing the Chiefs offense, they're starting to figure out how to shut down that offense. The Colts may not have the personnel, but they are disciplined to stop the Chiefs' offense. That's what you want. Players that are disciplined will be physical and rough them up. So that's why I picked the Colts.
But I do want to ask this, because you're saying that they're finding ways to stop the Chiefs offensively. Is it because they're not putting up 35 to 38 points? Because if they're almost scoring 38 or 30 points per contest, what are teams stopping?
Well, they're stopping the big plays. They're stopping Tyreek Hill getting loose. What they're doing is we're going to put double up on safety help. The cornerback will have safety help. So the cornerback is not worried about Tyreek Hill because he knows two other guys will have his back so he can jump the route. And also that causes for coverage sacks if you want to blitz up through the middle. That's where Patrick Mahomes' weaknesses are, because he's trying to make too many plays, want to make too many plays of this and this and that, because 9 times out of 10 when he throws the ball up the air, either it's being caught or it's being picked off. And most of the interceptions that he had this year is because of coverage sacks, what other teams do. You don't have necessarily sack him, you should have to pressure him. And if you pressure him up doing a stunt in between the A gap and B gap through the middle, you have another linebacker spy on him for getting outside. That's what you have to do to have success. Play zero blitz and trust your safeties in coverage. Double up Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Push him off the line of scrimmage. Be physical and throw him off routes where if you push him off like this, the other guy will come and help and throw him off this route because the corner guy can cover Tyreek Hill, ain't got to worry about Travis Kelce, and vice versa. All that. So that's what you want to do to contain the Chiefs' offense. The 3 out of the 4 games that happened, they were successful. Baltimore was successful to that 4th and 9 play, which they lost. The Chargers was successful in beating them. Same thing with the Seattle Seahawks. They were successful in beating them, shutting down their offense because they're not scoring over 35 points a game. They're minimizing their score to do that. So if you want to do that, you have to have success. Keep the Chiefs' points into the minimum and win the time of possession. And that's what they're doing defensively to stop the Chiefs' offense.
I don't think they're being contained. I think it's the defense that's the enigma. Because if you watch those games, I still don't feel like there's anything strategically and anybody stopping Mahomes. If you look, okay, they took away the long ball. Okay, he showed you, okay, give me time in the pocket. I can still make $1 out of 15 cents, basically.
I know that, but if you do that, if he throws a ball up the air, then you have all these defensive back players want to intercept the ball and all that. Tyreek Hill can't come back and make plays because he's being boxed out by another guy. When another guy comes and picks off the ball, that's what you want to do. You have to keep Patrick Mahomes honest. You got to keep him guessing. You got to mess with his head. If you can mess with his head.
Ain't nobody did it yet.
I mean, teams have done it that beat the Chiefs. They got into his head a little bit to where they forced him to throw bad interceptions. Okay, like with the Patriots, he had 2 interceptions. Even though he still put up numbers, what those 2 turnovers came off of because they pressured him up the middle and they double covered guys out on the receiver spot and jammed Travis Kelce up. That forced him to throw an interception where he didn't see the linebacker. The linebacker come out of nowhere and intercept the ball. That was Dante Hightower. Then you take it on to the Rams where Aaron Donald had a field day with the Chiefs offense. They scored a lot of points, but he still had 2 turnovers at the end that cost him the game. And
that
same
defense
thing.
Cost him the game.
No, at the end where Patrick Mahomes was trying to make too many plays and the guy intercepted the ball. I'm talking about the very end at the game. Then you got the Chargers did the same thing. They had somebody spy on Patrick Mahomes and they was up by 14 points, but the Chargers offense led them on the quarterback score and the Chiefs were conservative on that 3rd down. And instead of passing the ball on 3rd and 1, they ran it, and that's where Joey Bosa came up the middle and stopped the running play, forcing 3 and out. Then you take it to Seattle, where Seattle did the exact same thing. Even though the Chiefs scored 31 points, they minimized the limitation of Patrick Mahomes, and they forced turnovers on that fumble, which Colin was careless, and they pressed up the middle and sacked him. So he's going to get his numbers. But if you can do just the little things and make 1 or 2 plays, you can beat the Chiefs by doing that.
I say Andrew Luck starts off hot, and I think he falls off in the second half. I like your points, and I would give you credit for that as well. It's the thing about sports, debates. That's the beautiful thing about it. Dallas Cowboys, Los Angeles Rams.
We already talked about that.
Or excuse me, the Los Angeles Chargers and the New England Patriots.
I got the Patriots winning this one because their back is against the wall. And they feel like the pressure is on them to win. Excuse me, not the pressure, but they feel like their back is against the wall. And they heard enough about Tom Brady being old and this and that, and the Patriots dynasty over this and this and that. They're going to have a lot of motivation, especially Tom Brady, because it's going to drive him insane. It's going to drive him nuts. And for what I heard, they start playing together. Once they play together and that brotherhood, they may not have the talent, but unity overcomes that. If you have that unity, you have that trust with one another to make plays, then 9 times out of 10, that will win, that carry over. I feel like the Patriots offensive line will be physical enough in the running game. And I feel like the Patriots defense will come out and make 1 or 2 plays. I feel like Tom Brady, the crew, will get it done. We'll do some trickery stuff. So I like the Patriots to win at home, because when they're at home, they're at their best. And the forecast say it's supposed to be snow. When it snows New England, it's another level that the Patriots play. So I feel like that's the advantage. So I picked the Patriots to win. I'm going to say 30-20. And then Luke picked the Patriots as well.
I'm riding that train all day long. It's the Patriots. This is their time of the year. This is where they're the most focused. And the worst thing that could happen to any team that has to play against them is their back is against the wall. And they have a lot of doubters that they have to silence. I don't know if anybody wants to see that Tom Brady or that Belichick. So I agree with that all day long. I'm going to say the Patriots will win by a score of 28. I got 28-14.
Okay. Yeah, we did skip over there. Cowboys. You were right.
Cowboys and Rams? All right, let's do it. All right, the Dallas Cowboys and the Los Angeles Rams. Who y'all got?
Luke has the Rams. I'm going the Rams as well. I feel like the Dallas Cowboys defense will not do enough just to stop the Rams offense. And Todd Gurley may not be 100% of him since that knee injury, but he's had a few weeks to rest. I feel like 85% of him will be enough. And also that defense and Aaron Donald, he's going to have his way with that Dallas offensive line. You may have all pros and this and that, but Aaron Donald's still going to find his way to either stop the run or get to the quarterback. And I feel like Dak Prescott would be too much for him to handle against the Rams defensive line. So I'll say a close one. I'll say a 7-point game. The Rams will win at home, dethroning the Dallas Cowboys. The bad luck in the making. It will happen. So the Rams will win 27-20 and move on to the NFC Championship game.
You got it close. I like the Rams as well. I just think too much offense. And I just don't think that Dak Prescott wants to get into a scoring match with the Rams in that defense. I don't see that happening at home on top of that. I mean, I'm not going to get too much into it. I just think the Rams just have too much offensively and defensively. I think it's really going to come down to also they need Ezekiel Elliott. They're going to need him to play big. I don't know. I just think they're just going to have too much. I would like this score to be, I will say 32-21. And the last matchup, the Eagles against them Nolan Saints. Who y'all got?
Luke has the Saints to win. I have the Saints to win in a very close game. They're going to go back and forth. But at the end, Drew Brees is going to make more plays offensively to put his team in position either to win a touchdown or the field goal. And I just feel like they have more weapons offensively that will hurt the Eagles' defense, because Alvin Kamara coming out the backfield, especially in the passing game, it's a nightmare for a linebacker. Like I was saying before, for the Patriots, the linebacker's worst nightmare is covering a running back in the passing game, because 9 times out of 10, he's going to beat you. So the Saints going to come out with something new that the Eagles never seen. The Eagles going to be very physical. It will be a close game, but I feel like the Saints will do enough at home to win it. I say a very close game. I'm going to say 38-34 Saints.
I'm going to go with my heart on this one. I'm going to say upset. I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they are going to win at home. I do think it's going to be close.
On the road, you mean?
Yeah, on the road. I think they will win in New Orleans. I think they will find a way. Will they repeat the Super Bowl champions? I don't think they will, but I think they'll find enough to get to the conference championship. I'm going to say they will win 24-21. They'll find a way to get it done. However, if I'm wrong, I will say I will have New Orleans Saints, a potential one of my favorites, though, to win it all if they do get past Philadelphia. And that's going to do it for this episode of Gameball NFL Endzone.
Social media, you can follow us on Facebook, Gameball College Kickoff / Gameball NFL Endzone. You can follow us on our email at gck.gnfle not follow us. You can email us, excuse me. You can follow me on our Twitter page at Gameball all caps _NYKE. You can also follow us on our official Twitter page at gck.gnfle. And same as well as the Instagram, gck_GNFLE. You can also get your merchandise, your gear on our clothing line website, from workout shirts, hoodies, zip-up hoodies, all the appeals at tokendesignstopeka.com/gameball. That's TOKAN designstopeka.com/gameball. That's token, not toucan, folks. You can also follow us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, hit that like button, my left to your right to your left, vice versa, on our YouTube channel at gck.gnfletv. Once you hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit that notification button to get alert dates and on our postage and stuff, and I'm going to pass it on to you.
All right. Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Jovel Entertainment. You can also find me on Facebook under Marcus Jovel, E.N.T. Jenkins as well. Inquiries such as fellow artists. So I want to really quickly give a shout out to Jovel Entertainment artist Seb the Haitian for his single that's out now entitled Vibe. That's actually starting to take off pretty well. So shout out to him. We'll also have music from other artists, Sin City, coming soon as well. Be on the lookout for that this week. Also, he'll be featured in an event coming up on the 19th of January entitled Turf Wars. If you haven't heard of that, if you like the battle rap scene and you want to see some of the hardest artists from Kansas City to Lawrence and other places, it's going bigger and bigger each time. Akilin as well, shout out to her as well. Turf Wars at TP's in Lawrence, January 19th. We will be in the building. And also inquiries for Michael Riley. Gameball calls kickoff in NFL Endzone, Seb the Haitian, myself, Sin City, Akilion, Jovel Entertainment at gmail.com.
And you can't forget our other brother Lou, who will be back on soon. We don't know when, but he'll be back on the show. You can't forget about him. Facebook, Instagram as Lou Harnett, and on Twitter as Lou Harnett2, folks. I'm Michael Riley.
I'm Marcus Young Genius Jenkins.
This is Gameball NFL Endzone, where the football season never ends. Peace. We are out, and see you next week for the conference championship debates.